I don't know about you guys, but after a day like that, I could use a drink. Let's start with a little ice. Let's go. That's one ice cube in. That was pretty easy. Oh, no, just didn't quite get that one in, but don't worry. Didn't get that in either. Okay. Oh, man. All right, I have one ice cube. I think it should be pretty easy to get a second one. Oh, no. Okay, hold on. Let me focus. All right, I have the ice cube over the cup and go around the left side. Oh.
Bruins lose.
Bees lose 2-1 in regulation at home to the Tampa Bay Lightning, with goals scored in order by Morgan Geekie, Brandon Hagel, and Emil Lilleberg. The win goes to Andrei Vasilevsky, who made 19 saves on 20 shots for a .950 save percentage. The loss to Jeremy Swayman, who makes 22 saves on 24 shots for a .917 save percentage. Now, to start, I will address the elephant in the room. The Bruins clinched a playoff spot today. And when we clinched through a win, I was assuming I had kind of a cold open bit planned, which doesn't seem as funny now, but I won't have another chance to use it, so... To the Boston... My attire really isn't festive enough. To the Boston... No, they lost too. To the Boston Bruins. And I'm probably not the only person in a Red Wings jersey drinking tonight. For you two moderators and concerned parents, mostly mine out there, this is just water. Tropino humin. You guys know that good. Back of mouth, water burn, nice crisp. Ooh, sip of water. You know, I really could have used a sip of water or 2 or 7 before waking up to watch that game. And no, I don't sleep till noon. On the West Coast, the game started at 9:30. I sleep till 9, like a normal unemployed person. You want to talk about the game? I'll do it, if that's really what you want to hear and relive. First period, offense wasn't coming easy to either side. You have 2 excellent goalies who are playing well. Swayman had some trouble in his last couple outings. There was, of course, the disastrous 5-goal outing, where, again, not all of it was his fault, against Carolina. And then the outing before that, where the game-winning goal was kind of a soft goal that he gave up. So it was nice to see him return to form. And then Vasilevsky, for my money, the best goalie in the NHL, went and played like it, again, like he pretty much always does. Offense wasn't going to come easy. Chances were going to be scarce. But we get a breakaway, and our leading goal scorer has the puck on his stick. Our leading goal scorer who had gone 17 games before his breakout hat trick against Carolina without a goal. He shoots, he scores, and it's filthy. The placement, the release, the speed on the shot. Vasilevsky did nothing wrong and didn't even have a chance of saving it. If Geekie's back, we have a chance. Someone else will need to be back, but at least he's scoring again. That is the only bright spot we can take from this game. I'm struggling to find another, because after that, the Bruins get some chances in the O-zone, play some offense. They don't score. There are a few where Vasilevsky robs us, or the puck gets into the low slot, and it's just we can't quite get the stick on it, and it doesn't quite work out. And Tampa ties it. And Tampa's going to tie it. Tampa's very good. You're not going to beat Tampa 1-0, probably ever. You have Hagel, who played great today. This is his first game back from being day-to-day for like 14 days. You have Kucherov, who is obviously outstanding. I'm talking looking ahead, if this is a team we could play in the playoffs, which many teams we could play in the playoff. Tampa's not a team you're going to be able to beat 1-0. So I don't think it was our expectation to beat them 1-0. I think we were knowing that we would have to get another goal. So it's 1-1 after Hagel equalizes. And then in the third period, where we had a few chances, but we're mostly on our heels and we're mostly getting luckier that they weren't scoring than unlucky that we weren't scoring. They get a goal. They get a goal with about 1:30 to go. A shot gets down on Swayman. There's some traffic. I think catches a deflection in front, so we can't corral it. And it's sitting on the ice for the crashing defenseman, Emil Lilleberg. I think that's his 4th of the year or something in that number, which of the 5 goals that Tampa has scored on us in our last 2 games, remember we just played them like a week ago, I think 3 of them have been scored by defensemen. Dustu, I remember, got one. Lilleberg and Radish, who was out today, by the way, he's having a breakout season, scored almost double the goals, not quite almost double, I think 4 short of double the goals this season that he has in all of the rest of his career. So we were lucky that he was out, didn't quite capitalize on it. Throughout this, Tampa got some power plays. There were some calls that people didn't like. We actually got not the best tripping call. Kucherov tried to step through Espejol and got tripped. It is tripping, but oftentimes when you play the puck forward and then try to step through the defenseman as he collapses on you, the defenseman can kind of get away with some interference, a little holding. We got some penalties. They were mostly fine. I'm not going to complain about refs. I simply don't find it interesting. But I will say, in the last 2 minutes, particularly after Tampa scored, the high sticks that they didn't call were Corrali. This might have been earlier in the last 2 minutes. Corrali, I believe, caught one. Maybe it was Kostelic. Caught one up front. I saw it on the broadcast. In the group chat that I'm in, we were all talking about it immediately. The refs didn't even acknowledge it. And then with about a minute or so to go, maybe a little more even, McAvoy catches a stick right to the face. That dude's mug is getting beaten up, huh? Catches a stick right to the face in the middle of the play in broad daylight, no call. That's going to happen, and you have to be able to overcome that. But what I'll say about the refs, and I say this in every league I watch, there needs to be accountability. There needs to be accountability for everything. If I do poorly at my job, I'm a teacher, more or less. If I do poorly at my job and there's a whole class of students I taught and all of them don't know the material, they all write terrible essays, they all do terribly on the test, that's going to reflect on me and I am going to bear the brunt of that, and I could be, fired or not get as good of a position next semester when it comes time for the distribution. And if a player plays bad, or even if they play good, they get sent down to Providence. Lucas Reichel, I don't know what more you want out of Lucas Reichel. I understand that there was emergency call-up. He couldn't be up for so long, but he's coming right back up now. So I guess another emergency call-up. Is that how we're doing it? I didn't even see what the transaction is, and I don't think we have enough injured people to do it. You have Hagen's on the bench because he hasn't earned it yet. Oh, well, I can think of some guys on the ice who aren't earning it right now. So maybe the devil we don't know is better than the devil we do. Accountability is a very reasonable expectation, especially in instances like this. It's a 1-goal game. We don't get the call then. We end up getting our power play with 33 seconds left. Would have been nice to have it with like a minute left. After what was the weakest of the penalties that I've mentioned, an interference that I guess was interference as Tampa was about to score in an empty net. And then in the 33 seconds of our power play, we passed around, we took some shots. At least we didn't just watch the clock run, but we didn't do much with it. Vasilevsky's excellent. It's going to be hard to beat him. Accountability is a reasonable expectation. And if in the judgment of the league, these refs, not just for us, sometimes it's to our benefit. It can be in games that have nothing to do with us. There's no conspiracy or anything, but just if these refs do not make calls that could tangentially even affect the outcome of a game, then there needs to be accountability for it. Reffing must improve, just like skating does, and goaltending does, and shooting does, and all of these things do. But I don't want to talk about the refs. I really only kind of want to talk about the team. We clinched because we stumbled into it. 2 teams lost that we needed to lose. Detroit, now for the 10th year, will miss the postseason. I can't imagine what the conversations in that fan base look like right now. Actually, I can. My girlfriend and one of my best friends are both Wings fans. I know exactly what the conversation is. And it's not the same as our conversation as Bruins fans, but there's a level of despondence that I do think we share. We're in the playoffs, and, I can't pretend that we're on the same level of the misery scale as they are, But how do we feel about the playoffs, really? There are better matchups for us. There are worse matchups. Tampa is the worst matchup, I think, for every team. I wouldn't want to play them. Even Montreal, who have kind of had their number. Yeah. How confident are you that you're going to have their number that many times in a row or that many times out of 7? I would keep a wide berth from them. I saw someone say today in one of the group chats that if we play Carolina, we'll stay on the Metro track because the NHL doesn't reseed top seed, bottom seed. Just once we're in, if we get Carolina in the first round as the Metro winners, then we'll play them. We are now the wild card 2, remember, because Ottawa leapfrogs us on tiebreaker. And then we'll stay with the Metro teams, and we wouldn't have to play any of Buffalo, Montreal, or Tampa until the final round. So we're in. And I don't know what that means for our last 2 games. Columbus still has something to play for. We do, in as much as we could finish as the first wild card, but there's not necessarily a manifest advantage to finishing as the first wild card, depending on the matchup you want. So I'm not concerned about seeding. I'm not really concerned about matchup yet because there are too many moving parts. I'm concerned about form, the form of this team leading into the playoffs. I said a couple videos ago, I don't remember which one it was, that if we don't win 2 games of our last 7, then we will necessarily go into the playoffs either going 0-7 or 1-6. Now the best we can do is 2-5. I said, I think in my most recent video, if I'm gonna finish 2-5 in my last 7, I want to go 2-0 in my last 2. Well, that's opportunity knocking. Will we answer the door? But here's another question we can answer, and that's the Michael DiPietro lover question of the day. Let's see what he has for us. Why has God forsaken... Oh, no, that's my journal. Sorry. Here we go. What needs to change? You can interpret what that means. I think he means about the Bruins, but maybe you have other thoughts. What do you think needs to change? I've said the same things over and over, and I've said different things over and over. I've said enough. I want to hear from you. What needs to change? Let me know in the comments or on my Instagram, same handle as my YouTube, and let Michael DiPietro lover know. I hope he's okay with that. I'm kind of inviting. Well, follow him and then see how open he seems to your suggestions. He posts plenty of prompts. You can give your thoughts on those too. Give him a look over on Instagram. Reichel has been recalled to the NHL. Higgins is still up. Oh, I have another correction to make that I completely forgot about until now. I said that Alex Steeves was the only option to replace Reichel if Higgins wasn't coming in. That wasn't true. Mikey Simon. Sorry, I actually like him more than Alex Steeves. So I was glad to see him in. He was fine. Reichel is up. Higgins is up. I don't know what would have changed from yesterday into today that will make Higgins ready to play. Maybe the fact that the stakes are lower and we just don't really care about our form going into the playoffs. But, I mean, do we need to get that dude in there or someone in there? Matthew Poitras. Or what? We have scored 1 goal so many of these games. Games against playoff teams, games on the road in the Eastern Conference, 1 goal. We score 5 goals in 1 game against a goalie who couldn't buy a save. And we think our offensive problems are cured. And they're just like, Reichel, he's fast. And Higgins, he's inexperienced, he's young, he hasn't earned it. What does he have to do? What is this? Is it a frat? Does he have to do some weird shirt thing? Or like, I don't know, drag a barrel down the street? I don't know, I wasn't in a frat. What will it take to make a substantive change to an offense that isn't working? What do you expect is going to happen? That the teams are going to get easier? Do you think we're going to play the Kraken in the first round? Because 1, they're in the West, and 2, they're out of it. What do we think is going to change? I can't imagine being this upset any other year that the Bruins clinched. Really. And I even thought going into this, like, well, if we make the playoffs, I'll be okay. Man, I really don't feel like that. I feel like we don't deserve it. I guess no one deserves it more than us. Mathematically. We might finish with 100 points, have to be the second wild card, and it's still going to feel like we don't deserve it. What a year. My father has been watching the Bruins for a long time. I won't say how old he is, but he looks good for his age. Not that you know what he looks like, but trust me. My father's been watching the Bruins for a long time, a lot longer than I have, and certainly a lot longer than y'all have. And he said to me today, I called him to let him know that with Detroit's loss, the Bruins had clinched a playoff berth. And he had the same reaction as me. He almost didn't seem to care that we had done it. He was talking about the game, which he didn't really want to talk about. I kind of forced the old man to, give me a quote or two. And he said that the Bruins have been doing the same thing for the last 50 years. Since 1972. That was the year of our penultimate Stanley Cup, because of course in 2011. With that one exception, that one blip, where with the best postseason goaltending performance ever, I won't hear it. I will not hear it. A defense that was tough, not necessarily super talented, not great puck carriers, but tough. Seidenberg, Boychuk, McQuaid, Chara, Ferentz. We won that Stanley Cup. We beat a Vancouver team that people thought was better. We were a little too tough for them, and we had the better goalie. Roberto Luongo is an all-timer. He's a legend, Hall of Famer, all of that. Tim Thomas, that one year, was the best goalie on planet Earth. At least for that playoff run. And that's what we needed. Could we get that sort of thing out of Swayman? I don't know if I'll ever see that sort of thing, that 2011 run again. But my father said that the Bruins have been doing the same thing for 50 years. And I've been watching for 20, and I can say that at least for those 20, he's right. We get into these situations, we play well enough to get a lead, to get a step, to get something, and then we don't finish. And Pasta said it today. I actually watched some of the press availability. I'm really getting into this whole Bruins content creator thing. I watched some of the press availability, and Pasta said, well, they're a good team, and we got out ahead, but, we can't let the pressure off of them. They're good enough that we can't let the pressure off of them. And we did, and they came back again. He might not have said we did. He might have just said, and they came back again. Yeah, I watched the game, Pasta. You might have had a better view. I had fewer turnovers in the game, and fewer passes to the slot of dreams. That's the new offensive strategy. Has anyone else noticed that? Get the puck on the boards, either behind the goal or on the sides. Throw it into the slot. If there's someone there, we shoot it right at the goalie or right at the boards. And if there's no one there, then it goes hopefully all the way through to the other side. Usually it goes to a defender stick and goes out the zone the other way. I'm afraid there's now going to be a sense of lack of urgency, a relief, a removal of pressure, because we clinched. I think that there should be panic more than ever before in this season. The playoffs are coming up. Oh, it's good enough to make the playoffs? Yeah. Detroit would take it now, sure. Buffalo, no matter what happens this year, it was a success for them. It's good enough to make the playoffs. Is that where we are now? Because we'll get better. Are we going to get that Leafs pick? Is that pick going to be outside the top 5? Not if the Leafs have anything to say about it. I think they are going to need to get screwed by the lottery to make that happen this time. And, you can't count on that. So, how much better is this team going to get? There's plenty of young talent in the pipeline. There's plenty of room for improvement. Are we going to be content now because our expectations are low? Well, actually, I just talked about them. Buffalo. Do you think Buffalo, once they're in the playoff, are going to be like, take my foot off the gas and cruise to a 4-1 series exit? And it's still a good year. Of course not. This is their best chance to win a cup in ages. They're going to put their foot on the throat of whomever they play. And they may win and they may lose. Honestly, I don't think they match up well against most of the East. I think they might lose. But they're going to fight. And this is going to mean something to them. Their hunger. It's been a long time for them. And they're hungry. Are we not? I was already into BS with SB when I remembered I didn't do CAX for the evening. So here it is. C is the player who gets the offense going again. A is the player who gets the primary assist on that. And X is anyone who stands in the way of that goal. BS with SB. Now we can hear what you guys think about the game. I'm going to start off with one that's just kind of funny now from Marat Khusnutdinov enthusiast. They're going to miss the playoffs, aren't they? Man, if there had been any way to, they would have. If the other teams had done what they needed to, I do believe this, really, I do. If the other teams had done what they needed to, if we hadn't gotten the outside help, despite the fact that we control their own destiny, I don't think we would. If the game mattered tomorrow, I think we'd lose it. I think we have a better chance now that it doesn't. I think there's something very strange happening in the mindset of this team. From Minton Enjoyer, are we collapsing? I don't think you can call it a collapse simply because we did not expect to be here. I think there needs to be expectations set at a certain point. We did expect to make the playoffs like the Red Wings did when they were, 10 points clear in February or whatever. But the expectation at the start of the season was not there, and we've never been so dominant in the division that it was clear that we were a runaway playoff team. We do not collapse in that sense on that scale. But in the day-to-day, the period-to-period, the game-to-game, every one of them contains a collapse. It's the same thing over and over again. We had not lost a game in regulation before 2 weeks ago. I'm almost certain this is true. We had not lost a game in regulation if we entered the third period with the lead. We had won almost all of them, and we had at least gone to overtime in the ones that we didn't win. We've now done it twice. So yeah, we're collapsing. It's not a seasonal collapse. It's not like the 22-23 collapse where it's like catastrophic, earth-shaking, heart-wrenching. But it's sickening. It's disgusting. It's nauseating. From Fraser Edits 93. Please don't screw this up, Bruins. Please, please, I can't keep wasting sleep over this. Fraser Edits. I don't mean to arrogate the role of old hockey advisor. I am young, despite what some of you think. I am young. I am not nearly as experienced as my father, as my uncle, as so many Bruins fans who have endured much more than I. And perhaps you've been watching this game for much longer than I know. But I know that a fair amount of my fan base are relatively new to the game of hockey, which I love. I love that it's a growing sport. I think it should grow in as many ways and avenues and venues as possible because it's an amazing sport. And I want as many people as can to feel safe in hockey and enjoy hockey and watch hockey. So if that applies to you, Fraser Edits 93, or if it applies to anyone watching, any of my followers, anyone on whose For You page this is, and I've convinced you with my earlier skit about the ice cubes to stay, do not lose sleep over the Bruins. Insulate yourself emotionally from this team. In 2013, we lost the Stanley Cup final in Game 6 to the Chicago Blackhawks. We had a 2-1 lead with about a minute to go. And Chicago tied it up, and then they took the lead. They won in regulation. We went from 2-1 to 3-2 in the matter of a couple minutes. And that was the clinching game for the Stanley Cup. It would have taken Game 7. We would have been going back to Chicago. We were probably the worst team. I was 13. I was 13 when that game happened. And I remember being mad. I had been sad in previous Boston sports collapses. I cried when the Patriots blew the perfect season. Not the Patriots, Asante Samuel. I'll never, ever forgive him. Blew the perfect season in 2007. I think I might have cried again in 2011. It might have been 2012 by the time they played the Super Bowl and they lost to the Giants again. Maybe getting a little old for that, but I'm a sensitive soul. In 2013, only a year later, I didn't cry. I didn't even feel sad. I felt angry and I felt disgust. And it's left a taste in my mouth that as much as I love this team, and I do, and I love the players and I want them to win, and they have brought me such joy watching them over the years, that you put up with all the disgust. But you have to emotionally insulate yourself from this team. Because more often than not, and this is just the reality of our situation, they'll disappoint you. And we just gotta wait for the time where they don't. Playoff bound. Anything can happen. Go Bees.